There is one free agent hitting the open market unexpectedly this offseason that the Mets and David Stearns should be checking in on. Let's get into it. What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to True Mets Talk podcast. It's your boy CP. We are on the road. Don't have my setup with me, but you know what? The grind does not stop. Continuous Mets offseason content as free agency and trade season progress on this offseason, and we are talking about one name in particular. Before we do, please do hit those thumbs up buttons. Subscribe to the channel if you are new as you're watching this bottom right hand corner, and we've got so much content already on the channel for you all to check out. Please do subscribe and hit the comment section down below to let me know what you all think about pursuing this one name. And in this video, we are talking about one bullpen guy that is hitting the open market unexpectedly after being non-tendered by his former team. And this is a guy that we've talked about as we talk about relievers, top tier relievers, middle tier relievers, and even the lower tier relievers that the Mets could be pursuing this offseason. The past Mets Hot Stove live stream that we did, his name did come up, and that is Kyle Finnegan, formerly of the Washington Nationals, as they are trying to figure out whether they are making a push at the playoffs in 2025 or taking another season or two to rebuild. They have decided to non-tender Kyle Finnegan and not give him a contract for the 2025 season. And he is scheduled to hit the open market for any team to pursue. And I am a big fan of Kyle Finnegan, and I think that this would be perfect for David Stearns and the Mets to bring him on board and be that awesome setup guy for Edwin Diaz in the back end of the bullpen. We've talked about other names like Ryan Helsley, which is a little bit more unrealistic. Devin Williams as a trade candidate where you have to give up assets for a guy like Jimmy Garcia, that you could take a risk on and a chance on in terms of his injury risk. But a guy like Kyle Finnegan, who's been nothing but consistent his entire career, especially over the past 3 seasons, although there are some regression marks that we have to take note of before we discuss Kyle Finnegan as a total player and what he could bring. Nothing but consistency from what I could see. Electricity with the fastball, great off speed, arsenal with the splitter and the slider, respectively. We'll talk about that here in just a second. And it just makes sense for him being 33 years old, going into his 34th season. Age 34 season. I know that he was a closer for the Nationals, the last couple of seasons. He has that experience. And I know that he's probably going to want to close somewhere, in his next destination if it's not in a Nationals uniform. But if you're David Stearns and you could sell Kyle Finnegan on the tandem that he could be with Edwin Diaz in the back end of the Mets bullpen as they look to make a World Series appearance following an NLCS appearance, and the fact that you're going to potentially give the most money possible, as you see here, the Spotrac valuation being 2 years, $25 million. That's $12.5 million AAV for Kyle Finnegan in his next contract. If the Mets are willing to do that for 2 years, I really do think that this is a match made in heaven for David Stearns and the New York Mets. And we know David Stearns' unwillingness to dish out longer-term deals, right, beyond 2 years for relievers. The guys that are in line for 3-year deals or even 4-year deals, like your Tanner Scotts and your Clay Holmeses. But a 2-year deal for Kyle Finnegan, again, going into his age 34 season, could be an absolute no-brainer type of move that would solidify this bullpen. And again, as we've talked about all of these names as candidates to pair with Edwin Diaz and also go along with Jose Butto, Reed Garrett, even a guy like Ryan Stanek, who is still a re-signed candidate, no matter if you get Kyle Finnegan or not into this bullpen for 2025 and beyond. So let's talk about Kyle Finnegan, the pitcher here, instead of just the fit. Like, what type of pitcher really is Kyle Finnegan, and who has he been on the mound the past couple of seasons, right? I told you all the usage, and you see the usage at the bottom of your screen on the bottom of that Savant page. Four-seam fastball over 67% of the time. He throws it mid to high 90s. Again, electric. The splitter, which has been a staple of his arsenal as his secondary pitch, gets a lot of swing and miss on that. But something that is worth noting from 2023 to 2024, something clicked with Kyle Finnegan and his slider usage. And you see here, still hovering just over 5.5%, but the batting average from opposing hitters and the expected batting average, that was even better in terms of his slider than his splitter was. And it was drastically different in 2023 versus 2024. I believe in 2023, hitters were hitting over 400 off of his slider, and they were hitting under 200 off of his slider in 2024. That is a major, major increase in production and efficiency out of Kyle Finnegan. And whether that is in relation to his confidence in that pitch, throwing it in a more efficient manner and better counts, I don't know. But the success just jumps out at you. And if that is going to remain the case, and he has all three of these pitches as weapons in his arsenal, 2025 should mimic the production that he had in 2022 and 2023. And there's a reason that you see the kind of stoplight regression in terms of those 3 seasons for Kyle Finnegan. I think 2022 is arguably his best season in a Nationals uniform, posting just over 66 innings pitched, just around a 3.51 ERA. The strikeouts per 9 were probably the tops of his career at 9.5 strikeouts per 9, and the walk rate was at an even 3.0. He did not make an all-star appearance in that season, or even in 2023. Ironically enough, he was an all-star for the Nationals last season in 2024 as a closer. And again, it's important to also note that he's a closer, and he has been a closer, and he has that type of experience, which also provides a lot more flexibility for Carlos Mendoza to utilize a tandem of him and Edwin Diaz. Should Mendoza entrust in Edwin Diaz in a higher leverage situation that comes up in the 8th inning, well, you already have a closer in Kyle Finnegan. You can just flip-flop them in that situation. But it's all about, does Kyle Finnegan want to be thrust into a setup role and sort of deviate away from that closer duty that he's had in Nationals uniform for the past couple of seasons? But again, the main point, not the main point, but just a little bit of a topic of discussion here to, I guess, understand with Kyle Finnegan is there are some regression points that I would like to take note of before we label him as a must sign for the Mets. I think that they must check in on him, but the analytics department, the scouting department, and David Stearns in general, the numbers in front of him have to look at a couple of things here. The walk rate has been steadily increasing for Kyle Finnegan over the last couple of seasons. 2022, 3.0 flat. 2023, 3.1 walks per 9, and 2024, 3.4 walks per 9. The strikeouts have been descending just a little bit, especially between 2022 and 2023. And he kind of picked up the strikeouts in 2024, but again, not to the same degree that he was striking hitters out in that sort of vast kind of rate in 2022 in that campaign, but also the whiff percentage on his pitches. How many times he's gotten opposing hitters to swing and miss versus how many pitches he actually has thrown. That percentage also has been steadily declining. And I don't know if that's something to do with, again, just the pitch usage and the situational awareness of which pitch to throw in which situation, or something is wrong with his mechanics. Because again, the fastball velocity hasn't gone down. Presumably, I don't think, I haven't taken a deep dive into it, but I don't think any of the spin rates or the induced vertical break values have gone down. So that's something to note. And I don't have the direct explanation for that. But when you're assessing whether this is a true fit for your bullpen, if you're David Stearns, who is very methodical, very deliberate about how he builds his bullpens, that's something that he's going to have to know. But in terms of the actual values, at face value of some of the metrics, this is one of the more consistent back end of the bullpen guys that I think that could be available for the taking without having to give up any trade assets, as opposed to if you were to go and trade for a guy like Devin Williams or even a guy like Ryan Helsley, you can just dish out the $25 million and boom, 1-2 tandem in the 8th and 9th inning between him and Edwin Diaz. presumably closes down a lot of ball games should the offense do their job early in the ball game to get them the lead when they enter the game. Let me know, Mets fans, in the comment section down below, yay or nay to Kyle Finnegan. Would you be willing to go ahead and pursue him and bring him on in a setup role before Edwin Diaz in that 8th inning for 2 years, around $25 million? Or is that too much for you all? Would you rather pivot to a cheaper option or maybe even a trade piece? Let me know in the comment section down below. Personally, even given some of the regressions that I've talked about on this video and in this video, I'm still a fan of Kyle Finnegan. I think that would be electric to see in the 8th and 9th inning. But you all let me know. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all on this podcast the next time. Peace.
Thank you for watching the True Mets Talk podcast. Make sure you're tapping on that notifications button and checking out all the latest content on the channel. Thank you.